Well, this is a devastating day for Jay Z and Diddy in the case that was brought against them by the woman who claims that they were assaulting her when she was 13 after the VMAs. This is obviously the only case that Jay Z has been named in, but it's obviously an incredibly heinous accusation, and things that were looking up for them, for Jay Z and his attorney, have now been quashed, given the kibosh completely. Like, it actually looked like there was a possibility that this case might even get thrown out. And not only did the judge not do that, the judge demolished Jay Z and his attorney. And when I show you what she said, you're going to be like, oh my God, like this is no good for them, because this is the judge that's presiding over the case. And you're like, this is going to be who's making the decisions on what motions are allowed and your objections and any of those things that the judge can influence, what evidence is allowed in and what's not. She does not like Jay-Z's attorney, and she might also not like Jay-Z. It's really hard to tell, but this went really bad for them, like really bad. And I'll explain to you everything that was going on when we cover that case in a second.
All right, welcome to another deep dive. This time, we're taking a close look at this legal situation with Jay Z and Diddy.
Oh, yeah.
A woman's accusing them of sexual assault.
This is a big one.
Yeah, so it happened supposedly after the 2000 MTV VMAs.
Right.
And we've got two sources for today's deep dive. We've got the CNN article. It's got all the latest from the court.
Okay.
And then we've also got this YouTube video. And this one kind of gives like analysis and even some speculation. So let's jump in and try to sort through all this, because it's pretty messy.
Yeah, it's a high profile case, that's for sure.
Okay, so to start, the woman accusing Jay Z and Diddy, she's staying anonymous right now. They're calling her, quote unquote, Jane Doe.
Mm-hmm.
And she says they both sexually assaulted her after, like I said, the 2000 MTV Video Music Awards.
And just for clarity, we're talking about Sean Carter, that's Jay-Z's real name, and Sean Combs is also known as Diddy, right?
Right, yeah. Just so everyone's clear on who we're talking about.
Yeah.
Now, this is interesting because, Diddy's had accusations like this before, but this is the first time something like this has come out about Jay-Z.
Yeah, at least publicly.
Publicly, yeah.
Right.
And how has Jay-Z reacted to this whole thing?
Well, he's denying it completely.
Okay.
And his lawyer, this guy Alex Spiro, he's been super aggressive. I mean, like, really going after the accuser's attorney, Tony Buzbee, even accusing him of extortion.
Extortion? Like,
Yeah.
seriously?
Seriously.
Wow. So what'd the judge say about all of this?
So the judge, and Lisa Torres, she actually denied Jay-Z's motion to dismiss. So basically, she's saying this case can move forward.
Okay, so, like, I'm not a lawyer, so what does motion to dismiss mean?
Yeah, so basically it's like asking the judge to just throw out the case before it even goes to trial.
Ah, okay. So she's basically saying, nope, we need to look at this.
Exactly.
And what about Spiro, like with his, I guess, his attitude and what he was saying, what the judge have to say about that?
Oh, she actually called him out.
Yeah.
Like publicly criticized him.
Whoa, seriously?
Yeah, she said, his motions were combative, that he used really inflammatory language and made personal attacks, what they call ad hominem attacks.
Okay.
And she even said it was, quote unquote, a waste of judicial resources.
Wow, that's pretty harsh. I mean, is that normal for a judge to be so, I don't know, direct?
Not really, no. They usually try to stay, neutral. So, I mean, for her to call him out like that, it really shows she wasn't happy with how he was handling things.
Yeah, it kind of makes you wonder if those tactics are going to backfire on Jay-Z. Like, trying to bully your way out of it instead of actually dealing with the accusation.
Yeah, it could definitely influence how the jury sees him and his whole defense team. I mean, people might think he's trying to hide something.
Right, exactly. Okay, so we've got Jay-Z denying everything, his lawyers being aggressive.
Yeah.
But what about the woman making these accusations? I mean, is her story straightforward, or is there more to it?
See, that's where things get even trickier. So she did this anonymous interview with NBC, and she shared some details about what supposedly happened. But some investigative journalists, they found some holes in her story.
Holes? Like what?
Well, for example, she talked about a Jumbotron at the VMAs. Problem is, there wasn't one in 2000.
Really?
Nope. And then she said she met Benji Madden.
Uh-huh.
Well, guess what?
He wasn't there.
Wasn't even there.
Yeah.
And the place she said the after party was at, well, they didn't even have one that night.
Huh. I mean, those are some pretty big details to get wrong, especially If it was such a traumatic experience, like, you think those things would stick out?
You would think.
Yeah.
And there's this even bigger inconsistency. So she said her dad drove her to and from the VMAs. But her dad, when they asked him, he couldn't remember ever doing that. And we're talking like a 10-hour round trip.
Oh, wow. Yeah, if your own dad can't back up a detail like that, it does make you wonder about the rest of her story.
It does. But she's still sticking to her accusations. She says it did happen, even though she admits to some of these inconsistencies.
Okay, so it's kind of a he said, she said situation then.
Yeah, and it makes it really hard to know what actually happened. You've got these conflicting stories, and it's hard to sort out the truth.
Totally. And I think before we go on, we should talk about the lawyers, because they seem to be, playing a big part in how this whole thing's playing out.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We talked about Jay Z's lawyer, Spiro, but the accuser's lawyer, Buzbee, he's interesting too.
Yeah, and he's the one representing Jane Doe in this case, right?
He is, but get this, he's actually representing over 100 other accusers.
100.
Yeah, and they're all accusing Diddy of similar stuff.
So it's like he's on a mission.
It seems like it.
Yeah.
And there's even this allegation that Jay Z's team, they contacted some of Buzbee's former clients and encouraged them to sue him.
Wait, like to try and, I don't know, make him look bad?
Yeah, like a way to discredit him. Pretty wild, right?
It is. And speaking of wild, this is where that YouTube video gets really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They bring up this whole conspiracy theory. Get this. They're saying BlackRock might be behind all these lawsuits against Diddy.
BlackRock, the investment company.
The one and only. Apparently, Diddy accused Diageo, the beverage company, of racism, and that supposedly cost BlackRock billions. So now, the theory is that BlackRock is getting their revenge.
Now, hold on. Before we go too far down that rabbit hole, we got to remember this is just speculation.
Right, right.
There's no actual proof of this.
Right.
It's just a theory from some random YouTube video.
Right, of course, yeah. But, it is interesting to think about, even if it's just a theory, it does add like another layer to all of this. What do you think?
I think it shows how quickly speculation can run wild, especially online.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder to always be careful about what we believe.
Definitely. So let's get back to what we know. We've got this situation where the judge has allowed the accuser to stay anonymous. And that's a pretty big deal, especially with such famous people involved.
Yeah, it is.
What do you think about that?
Well, it's a tough one, right? On the one hand, it protects her privacy, which is super important in cases like this. And it might even encourage other victims to come forward. They know they can stay anonymous.
Right.
But on the other hand, it makes it harder for Jay Z and Diddy to defend themselves.
How so?
Well, they have the right to face their accuser, to question them directly. And if she's anonymous, it makes it harder for their lawyers to investigate and build their case.
Yeah, so it's tricky. You got to protect the accuser, but also make sure the accused get a fair trial.
Exactly. And in this case, the judges decided that protecting her identity is the most important thing. We'll have to see how that plays out as the case goes on.
Okay, so let's take a step back for a second. I mean, with all this stuff going on, what's the main takeaway you want our listener to get from this first part of our deep dive?
I think the big thing here is just how complex this whole situation is.
Yeah.
We've got these conflicting stories, questionable legal tactics, and then you throw in fame and power and it gets really murky. This isn't a simple case of right and wrong.
No, not at all. And as we keep digging into this, we're going to have to keep an open mind and really look at the evidence carefully.
Absolutely.
So join us for part 2, where we'll keep going deeper into this legal battle. We'll look closer at the credibility of both the accuser and the accused, and we'll see what kind of impact the judge's decisions are having on the case.
Sounds good.